Welcome back to episode 3 of Home Cooking with Foodland. I'm so excited to see everyone. I think we've had 2 great classes, and we're looking forward to doing our 3rd one here. And the fun part about this one is we're going to do something that is really homey. It's a Western style dish, and the great thing about it is it's super kid friendly. Before we get started, of course, the group here is all practicing social distancing. And our moderator, Cheryl, who I think some of you have seen in videos with me, will be asking the questions that you guys send in on your the question and answer. We're looking forward to getting going with this whole thing. You know, one of the questions that I got asked was about strategy and how do you approach, how you make everything come together. So I thought I'd maybe talk about that before we really get started. And today, besides the dish that we sent the information for, I'm gonna push to do garlic bread and a salad, so we have a really cool meal. We'll call it extra credit. So for starters, I think, you know, what I want to do is I have water behind me. I have it hot and boiling. I'm preheating the pot, and I have my oven already ready to go. So those things have already been set. But in general, what I want to do is I want to get the bread going, because that's just gonna like do its thing while I'm doing other things. I'm gonna get the pasta going, and then I'm gonna get the sauce happening. And then the goal is to get everything to come together. You know, my wife always wonders how this happens when I do dinner for the family. And it's really about strategizing how to start things and time it so that ultimately in hopefully half an hour or 40 minutes, everything, boom, comes together. So we'll get going with this, the whole deal here. I have, this is a really cool essential baking bread that I have. It's part baked. I already part baked it. And this is rosemary, so nice and flavorful. And again, I was trying to show you things that you can do to kind of build on maybe the simple things that you're doing at home. Maybe you're buying the garlic bread from the freezer and just throwing it in the oven. This is going to give you a nicer, you know, a more involved, more kind of complex and really nice flavor to add to your pasta dish. So I have the bread that was part baked, and I'm going to cut it in half. And you can see the rosemary in there. It looks really nice. And then I want to put it on a sheet pan that I have ready that's lined with some foil. And the traditional way, or people that do it typically, would just take like garlic butter and just like smear it on here, and that's great too. But I'm going to do a little bit differently. I'm going to take some extra virgin olive oil, and I'm going to just drizzle it on here. And I'm gonna be liberal with this, because I want this to really kind of get in there, and it's gonna really give you some mouthfeel and make it really delicious and make it happy. Okay. Now I have an oven. The oven is at 350 degrees. It's preheated. I'm gonna season this with some salt. And this I happen to have a couple different textures of salt, and this is a fine salt that I'm using. And then we're gonna go ahead and put this in the oven. So we'll get that going. 350. And the cool thing about it is it's going to do its thing, and I don't have to watch it so closely. Okay, so we got that going. Now the next thing I want to get going is the pasta. And the pasta in general is going to take 8 to 10 minutes to cook, right? So now I'm going to kind of cruise over here, and we'll take a look at get the pasta going. I have a pot of water. It's simmering. Now, there's a lot of different schools of thought on pasta, and this one, a lot of people say you gotta have a really high rolling boil, and that's what I did when I was learning how to cook, etc. And what I can, I do, but what I've learned when I cook at home, if I bring it to the rolling boil and I put the pasta in, sometimes it overflows in the pot, and that's not fun. So I have the pasta in the water, it's going. I'm gonna add salt, and there's another debate on whether you should season the water or not. And I still like to season the water because I think, again, it's layering seasoning. So I'm going to season the pasta while it's cooking. And the question that people ask often is how much salt? And what you should be shooting for is it should taste salty. It should almost be like ocean water. You want that much salt in this water. Okay?
How much salt did you put into your pot?
That's about a 1/4 cup of salt that I put in there. I mean, I could taste it real quick, and I'll do it just for formality's sake, but it should, like I said, you're looking for salty ocean water. And that's definitely there. Okay, so now I'm gonna pour. This is a one container of pasta, and I'm using rigatoni. And if you can't find rigatoni, you can use different shapes. I like for this dish to use a shaped pasta versus a noodle. And the reason why is because the sauce is chunky, and I like how the sauce kind of like fits in and coats around and goes into the pieces and the nooks and crannies, and that's what makes it delicious. Okay? So this is gonna go in the whole thing.
What kind of salt did you use?
I'm using regular sea salt. And you know, in one of the other classes that we taught, I mentioned that what you don't really want to use is the iodized salt. The goal here, I mean, if you have alaya and you want to use it, that's great. But you want to use pure salt and not something that has iodine in it, because the iodine has the iodine flavor. It's sort of a metallic flavor, and I think it throws off things. It doesn't add to the cooking. So this is just pure sea salt or straight NaCl. Okay. So now, one thing I wanted you to see is when you add the pasta, because of you're adding something that's not hot to a hot liquid. You notice how the temperatures drop and it's not boiling anymore. So I am going to kind of like keep an eye on it a little bit, because what happens is as it comes back up, if I walk away, it starts to bring back to a full boil, and then it starts to kind of like really boil over. And as you can see now, when you take a look at it, it's starting to come back up now. I want it to be very hot. I want it to cook the pasta. But also, depending on the stove you have at home, you may not be able to get this really, really rapid boil also. And so I want to make sure you understand that that's great if you can do that, but don't let that stop you. And so I'm happy with this movement right now. I'm actually turning the heat down, because what I'm trying to make sure that does not happen is it starts to boil and foam up, and then suddenly you hear that sizzling sound and you turn around and there's all of this foam that's going over here. So I think this looks good, and we can start moving forward on other things. Now I have my pan here. I'm preheating it, and we'll do some pre-prep for the sauce. Okay, now we're going to come over to do some more prep. All right, so we're not using a store-bought Italian sausage. We're kind of making our own sausage as we go. And the key components to making Italian sausage, really, it's the fennel seeds, it's garlic, it's salt, pepper, and I'm just listening in the background to make sure that I don't get the boil over. So I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. And that's what makes it, and then it's pork, it's ground pork. Now keep in mind, someone was asking, if I don't have pork, or I don't want to use pork, or I don't eat pork, can I do something else? And that's absolutely totally fine. You can use ground beef, you can use ground chicken, you can use ground turkey. You can also do this without the meat. I've done this before with just the tomato, but I do add fennel because I really like the fennel seeds, because I like the flavor, the anise flavor that it provides. So I have, this is 4 cloves of garlic that I'm going to rough chop. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, I've had some really great comments from people that have watched the other two, and I think it's really awesome that some people are choosing to cook along with me. While you're doing this, if you have any questions, or if you need me to kind of like, I'm going too fast, please let me know, so that I can make sure that we all keep up together and we get the dish together done.
Going back to the pasta.
Yes.
Does adding oil to the pasta water help the
Super
pasta
great question.
not stick together?
That is one of those other age-old debates. I do not add oil. It does not help, in my opinion. What it does, you put oil in, it floats at the top. You throw pasta in, kind of floats around. It kind of coats the pasta when it comes out, but I don't think it really makes a difference. The thing that's important is cooking the pasta properly. And then if you're not going to cook with it, use it right away, is to shock the pasta quickly in very cold water to stop the cooking process, so the starches don't continue to cook and stick the pasta together. Okay, so we have some garlic here. We'll put it on the side. That's ready to go. Let me just take a look at my pasta real quick, which is looking very nice. And then we're gonna work with the fennel seeds. Now, if you've not worked with fennel seeds, I mean, they're actually seeds, and it smells like anise. And what the cool part about it is, when you think about Italian sauces, and maybe you haven't thought about it, This is one of those key characteristics that makes Italian sausage what it is. Now, I am not toasting these, but you can totally toast these because it helps bring out the essential oils and makes it more fragrant. Again, I'm trying to show you guys how to cook quickly, and sometimes you don't have the time, and I want to make sure you understand that if you don't have the time, that's okay. You're still going to have a delicious dish. So these are the seeds right there. Now, what I do like to do is I don't want to use them like straight up as they are. And there's a couple ways I like to break them up a little bit. Now, if you have a spice grinder, you can throw these in a spice grinder, like you used to grind coffee beans and grind them up, or you could chop them. And I'm just hearing my possum. Take a look at that. It looks good. Or you can do what I'm going to do here and show you is use the back of a pan, and you're going to roll it on top of the seeds here, like that. And what I'm doing by doing this is you can hear it, right? You're kind of crushing the seeds, and what that does is it helps to get the flavor out.
Do you find this in the spice aisle?
Yep, it's right in the spice aisle. Here's the bottle. Sorry. Well, this is the one I have that I got from the store. There's a couple different brands you can look at, but it looks like this. This is a McCormick brand, and totally the cool thing about the spices is that they're arranged by alphabetical order. So, but for the F, you find Fennel Seeds.
Going back to the garlic,
Yeah.
Is there a difference between chopping the garlic or putting it through a garlic press?
If you have a garlic press, you can use one. One of the things that I think you'll see if you keep up with me and we keep cooking together is you'll start seeing me using pretty much the same tools over and over again. And I think when you cook or when you're starting to cook or you're getting into it, your sense is to like buy every single tool out there. And I do have a garlic press, by the way, and I use it sometimes. But sometimes I just, when I'm done, I want to eat, and then I want to go to sleep, and so I don't want to have to wash a ton of things. So I don't use it all the time. But you can use one. Now, as you can see, it's broken up more, and here's some of those fragments you can see. And if you were in here with me, you would totally smell this really fragrant anise scent that's in the house right now. Why don't you, I'm going to come look at the pasta here. Let's take a look at this. And one of the things I wanted to show you is the pasta is starting to come together. You can see it's starting to absorb the moisture. It's kind of swelling up. And the only way to know if the pasta is done right, is ready, is to taste some. So I'm going to break a piece here. I'm going to try it. And I'm looking for what we call al dente, right? And people say, what is that? It's a chewy texture. And it's making sure that the pasta is completely chewy and cooked through. It's not snapping or crunching in your teeth, but it's not really soft and mushy. This is really, really close. Okay, so I'm going to pull it out soon, but it's not quite there yet. It's still a little bit chalky on my teeth here. So we'll go. It's very close. We'll let it go until a minute and a half more, and it'll take it out. We'll finish this up here. Now I'm happy with this, but I am going to come in here with my knife and cut it, chop it up a little bit. Now, the thing about fennel seeds is they are pungent, and so they add great flavor, but if you don't like a big shot of fennel, when you're eating this, you can take it and chop it like this. And the finer you go, the more integrated or blended in the flavor is going to be. The coarser it is, or the more you use the seeds whole as they are. When you're eating the pasta, you might get a seed and bite into it, and then you have this really kind of a burst of fennel, which I like, but not everyone does. Okay, so we have our garlic, fennel seeds, and now we're going to kind of get the sauce going, okay? But actually, what I'm going to do before I get the sauce going is take care of the pasta here. Now, because I'm making a dish that it's going to come together all at one time, I'm not going to shock the pasta. I'm going to pour it out, and we're going to drain it, and then I'm going to let it just kind of sit and cool on its own. And because I'm doing that as well, it's going to continue to cook. So this, like I said, I'm shooting for al dente, but I'm also going to pull this out a little bit before it's technically cooked so that I can time this extra cooking that's going to happen while it's also cooling. So I'm going to turn the fire off. And one thing I am going to do is I'm going to take some of this water. When you start doing pasta a lot, one of the things you do is, and in Italy they do, is they save some of this pasta water. And this pasta water is important because it is seasoned, right? We added the salt to it, and some of the flour and the flavor of the pasta is coming up into this water. And when it's time to finish the dish, if I need to adjust the consistency, I have this really beautiful, it's almost like a stock that I can use to adjust. And if I need to make it like thinner, I can use that for making my pasta beautiful, okay? So quickly, I'm gonna take some, I'm gonna drain this out really fast. And then we're gonna go ahead and make the sauce. So I'm gonna let that drain in the sink for now, put it to the side. We'll get into the making of our sauce quickly. Now the pan is very hot, and I'm gonna put olive oil in the pan here. I'm gonna pull it on the side because it's so hot. I'm guessing it might smoke a little bit because I've had it on for such a long time. And see how it's smoking. So what I need to do is I kind of need to let it cool down a little bit. And what I am gonna do is this is one of those cooking techniques. I'm gonna take some of this already and put it in because it'll help cool it down. This is the ground pork. And there are a couple ways you can control temperature, right? If something is very hot, if you throw something very cold in there, it will drop the temperature, and I'm going to drop this in right now.
If someone has sausage,
yeah,
can they just use that sausage and take it out of the casing?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, that works great. That's something that you can totally do. And I've done that before as well. One of the things I'm trying to show people, though, is I'm showing everyone here that's on the cooking class is that we're doing a lot of things from scratch, and the reason I like that, by the way, here, so now it's cooled off, it's not too hot, right? I want to make a little space in the pan. I want to add a little bit of olive oil here, and then I'm going to move it back over. But the thing is, I'm trying to show you folks how to do is make things delicious without necessarily having things like sauces to work with. And I think it's fun to show you the origin of certain things, right? So I'm going to show you kind of like the key things that go into making Italian sausage. Now, Italian sausage, if you're going to use it for store-bought, is a high, to make a good sausage, you want to have at least 30% fat. And so it is a high-fat ingredient. Now, this ground pork I'm using, my guess is probably maybe 15 to 20% fat, so it's a little bit leaner. So just decision points that you have to make, but if you have it, use it. I've also used breakfast sausage because I just had it. Okay, so as you can see, the sausage is kind of broken down now. It's starting to feel like I'm making lard, but that's another story. I'm going to add the garlic. And you may be asking yourself, well, why didn't I add the garlic before? Because when I cook at home, I add the garlic first. One of the things that I think people do is they always add the garlic first, and then they do other things, and then the garlic burns. What you're trying to do with the garlic is get all the essential oils out and get the flavor out without burning it. So I can't really count, but there was 4 or 5 garlic cloves chopped, right? Now this is, I would say, we're looking at roughly 2 tablespoons of fennel that's going in. The pork that went in there was just over a pound. It was really 1.1 pounds because it's not exact at the store. And then I'm gonna go ahead and stir this all together, and I want to get all the flavor and the oils to come out, and you can smell it. It's really, really delicious. Now, salt. This is regular again. This is sea salt. So the difference between just straight up NaCl and sea salt is there are other minerals from the sea that are in here, but again, no iodine. And then I'm going to add cracked black pepper, and I love that stuff, so I'm going to put a good amount in here. And I do think it makes a difference to use a pepper grinder versus pre-ground pepper, and that's because a spice like pepper has oils in it, and the oils are where the flavor comes from. If you're buying pre-ground pepper, that oil will eventually dissipate, and then it will get lost, and you don't have the same vibrancy and flavor. So that is why I'm using the fresh now. Okay. So now we have our pork. We've got all our fennel in there, salt, pepper. We've got the garlic in there. The next thing that I'm going to do is add tomato product. Now, we talked about the idea that you can have, basically you're looking for 24 to 28 ounces a really solid tomato. It can be tomato sauce, it can be ground tomatoes, it can be whole tomatoes that you just mash up, right? In this case, I'm using our Ricotta tomato sauce, the Italian tomato sauce, and this is our brand here. And the reason I'm using this particular sauce that I'm very happy with is it's imported from Italy, but also it doesn't have a lot of sugar in it, and you can taste the acidity in the tomatoes. They're super ripe tomatoes. And so whichever sauce you're going to use, whichever tomato product you're going to use, you want to find something that doesn't have a ton of sugar added into it. And the way to check is like kind of look at the ingredient deck and see what's in there. If sugar is one of the top ingredients in there, it means they're adding a lot, right? So now I'm going to add this in, and I'm not going to add all of it because I like to be able to adjust as I'm cooking. And so this is looking really good. It's all coming together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the fire down to very low to let it start to come together with flavors. Now, one thing you can do, and the other thing that I talked about with is, the sugar, right? Now, you can add sugar to a sauce. If the sauce is very, very acidic, a little bit of sugar can help to mellow out the flavors. But the thing that's important is if you're already starting with a bottle sauce with a lot of sugar, you can't do much. In this case, if I were to taste it and I felt like, you know what, it does need a little bit, I can always add, but I can never take out. And that is what's really important about the cooking process here. So I'm going to turn it down a little bit. And here's a great example. So it looks a little tight to me. Tight means thick. I want it to have a little bit more looseness. And so I'm going to take some of my pasta water and add it to the sauce. And then I'm going to let it just kind of simmer down.
What makes this dish ragu?
A ragu really just means like a stewed or a very slow cooked application or a saucy dish. And so because we're putting meat here, we're cooking it, we're adding a bunch of liquid to it, and we're gonna kind of cook it and slow it down. I'm using the term loosely because it's a short cooking time. But if I were to take a pork butt and put tomato product for very long and shred it, then I would have an ragu in Italian and ragout in French. But they're the same concept. So,
and what kind of sugar would you add? Would you add brown sugar?
I would use just granulated white sugar. I'm just looking for clean sweetness. I'm not looking for potential other caramelly flavors that might come from the brown sugar.
And at this point, could you add red pepper flakes?
You could, and you'd have sort of an arrabbiata style. I'm not doing this because I'm trying to keep it kid friendly, but I do have pepper flakes. And what I would do is I would serve it to the family, and I would put it on the side so people that want it to be spicier can add on their own. So I'm going to come back over to the prep side here, and I'm going to do some herb prep because one of the things I think you'll notice in all of the cooking that we do over time, I use a lot of herbs. And the reason that I use herbs, besides the wonderful flavor that it adds a lot of vibrancy and freshness. So in this case, I've got the basil, and it's been pre-washed. And again, I'm going to take the basil and roll it all up so that I can slice it. And I'm just going to get in here with my knife. And I want to go fine because then I can get it to evenly distribute through everything that I'm doing. And it just adds a lot of beautiful flavor. Again, the important thing about cooking is to start wherever you're at. And if your knife skills are still in development, work in progress, that's fine, but just go for it. So that's the basil. And now we have parsley. I got some from the yard. This is Italian parsley that I'm going to chop. And again, like we talked about, so this is a very young sprig here. And as you can tell, it's so young that when I picked it, it just like didn't want to stay with me. And because it's so tender and young, I can just chop the whole thing off because it's not going to be woody. So I'm going to roll this one. I'm going to roll up like that, and then kind of do the Titan roll here. I'm going to tuck this underneath like that. I'm going to go in here. And by the way, so when I'm slicing, I wanted to show you, this is, my thumb here stays behind my fingers here. And the knife stays here on my guide finger here, and it never gets close to me when I'm when I'm slicing. That's how we were able to kind of go quickly. And we didn't technically don't even have to look at what we're doing, because at any given time the blade never really gets close enough to my finger. Okay, I'm gonna go across here just do one more shot. So now we've got our parsley and we've got our herbs here. Since we're here doing some prep, I'm gonna clean my board a little bit. Oops. But I want to do some prep for the salad that I told you guys about. This is salami. It's sliced salami that I got from the deli, and I'm gonna go ahead and slice it down here and make some julienne, kind of a fine julienne, which is it's a term for a French cut. Julienne kind of means matchstick. These are a little bit thinner than a matchstick, but I think you guys get the point.
How do you sharpen your knives, and how often?
I sharpen my knives, whenever I feel like they're starting to drag on the product more than I want it to. I use a steel a lot, and what the steel does is it straightens the blade. I'm gonna go take a look at the sauce here real quick. It's looking really, really good here. See how it's coming together. And, I don't know if you noticed it, but when I poured it in, it was really bright red. You can see that. And now in the sauce here, as it's coming together, it's kind of taking a little bit of a mellow tone. That to me is just an indicator of all of the flavors coming together. It's looking really good, though. I'm really happy. And see that kind of consistency I'm looking for? That's looking good. So back to knives. Let me show you something, right? This is the steel that I use. I use a steel a lot. The steel is not to sharpen the knife. The steel is to straighten the blade. As you cut a lot, the blade actually bends. So by steeling it, it straightens the blade out so that you don't have to sharpen it. But when I do need to sharpen it, I do have a stone, like a wet stone that I sharpen with, but it's not very frequent. Okay, so we have, this is for the salad.
What was that you just sliced again?
That was salami.
Salami.
Yeah.
What type of salami? Hard salami? Genoa?
This is, I'm using, here, I actually have some over here, an open one. This is uncured Genoa salami, 4-cent brand that we're using here. And that's really delicious. Dry cured, I love dry cured too, by the way. And, when it's time to splurge, you can find me at Arfield Wine Company. They got a lot of good stuff out there. One of the things they do is it's really cool. They have a fennel salami. They call it Keoni, I believe it's called, and it's really delicious. So these are just green olives. I'm gonna slice up for the salad. Get that over there, and then I have some pepperoncini that I'm gonna slice up. So my whole theme here, the theme for tonight's dinner is, and I don't want to say Italian. I want to say Italian-esque, because really I think what we're doing is, I would call it American Italian, American style. It's not full traditional. I think people from Italy, if I were to say this is traditional Italian, might have an issue with that. Nonetheless, it's delicious. Okay, I'm going local. Whole Farms family tomatoes, super delicious. I'll take some of these and cut them in half. And by the way, when I'm cutting them in half, I like to cut them from the stem side down. Stem down versus sideways like that. And the reason why, I don't know if it's a cooked thing, this one's fighting with me, is if I cut them this way, then one person gets the bottom and one gets the top. This way, everyone gets literally an equal half of the entire tomato.
What was the ingredient you sliced right before the tomatoes?
This one, these are pepperoncini peppers, and then these are the olives. And one of the things, so again, when I'm cooking and when you cook, what gets exciting and what you should be thinking about is flavor, texture, color. And so in this salad that I'm going to do here, you're going to have a lot of colors, right? A lot of different textures, and I'm layering all kinds of flavors. I've got the pickled vegetables here, the cured olives here. It's kind of a bright acidic tomato. And then when you think about layering, I'm putting tomatoes in the salad, and the sauce has tomatoes. So there's tomato, which is not technically repetitive, but the nice thing is this is a raw tomato versus the cooked tomato, and they're going to give you different characteristics of flavor. Okay, so one more thing we're going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and prep the greens while we're out of here. So this is a head of romaine. been washed, and I washed it. I held it under the sink, washed it, and I kept drenching it and shaking it out to get the liquid out. And I'll show you the way I like to prep romaine for a salad. So I'll cut it down to half. I'll keep the stem on. I'll cut it in half long ways. Okay, so now we have 2 halves. And see here, there's a little bit of dirt, so I'm going to go ahead and get them out. Let me do a quick rinse. And again, so I'm shaking it really hard because I want to get all the water out. Okay, and I'll take this one too. I'm going to rinse that out. By the way, I'm checking my bread here. It's coming together nicely. And then we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and prep this now. So, I'm actually, the cool thing is, if I put it on this paper, on this side towel here, some of that extra moisture will come off too. All right. So, what I'm gonna do is take my knife, and I like the stem because it helps keep this together and makes it workable. I'm gonna take my knife in here. I'm gonna run it down here. This is the size of my salad that I'm looking for, and I'm gonna do a couple scores. I'm treating this almost like when you prep an onion to dice it, right? And then I'm gonna take my knife. I'm gonna just take this top part off because there's some scarred pieces and I don't want that in my salad. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it down here. Stem goes away. And I have my salad bowl here. And I'll just put my greens in here. Come back here with the other half here. Follow the same process. Now, if you have a really big head of lettuce that you're trying to work with, you might have to, at the tops here, you might do an extra set of cuts. But again, taking that first part here, get rid of that because of the burnt ends. And then we're going to go ahead with the cut. Stem goes away. These go in here. And I'm going to mix it together because I want to make sure that there's a nice blending of the pieces that are closer to the core and then pieces at the top. But I think this is a really nice, it's a nice blend of greens here. And then we're going to go ahead and garnish this while our sauce is working. So I'll throw the tomatoes on here. And this is kind of like, I hate to say this, but it's kind of a quote-unquote Italian style salad. We have all of our vegetables that are going on here. I haven't put my herbs into the pasta yet, so I'm going to steal some of that, put that in there. Throw some of my salami here because I have a weakness for that.
Could you have removed the stem of the romaine lettuce, washed it more thoroughly individually because you want to have a more thorough wash because of the concern for rat lungworm?
You could. You could. I mean, people do that. People take the leaves off one at a time. I think that comes down to preference. So we're garnishing there. So that's our salad right there. And now I did not dress it. So the thing that you can do, what I would do is I would put that on the table, and then I would serve it. I have some balsamic that someone gave me as a gift. And then I'll put olive oil and I'll put salt and pepper, and then people control their own, how they want to put, how they want to dress. And it's basically, you put some on your plate, drizzle a little bit of balsamic vinegar, olive oil, and season as you want. Now let's go ahead and finish the sauce. I have this, it's looking good right now. It's been cooking. And think about it, it's only been, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, right? We've been together here. And so it's come together nicely. This is a quick sauce. Now, there are, recipes or bolognese sauce where people cook it for hours and hours and hours, and that's fine too. But the thing I like about this sauce is it's going to be bright and fresh versus the other sauce, which is still delicious, but it tastes different. It doesn't have the same sort of brightness. I would describe it as a darker sauce. So I'm going to now put the herbs in here because it's ready to go. and it contains the herbs. And at this point, I'm getting ready to serve it soon, so the herbs will not dissipate in flavor. I'm gonna stir that in. And I think that's looking good. Now, we're gonna do is I'm getting ready to have this all come together now. I'm gonna pull the bread out and we're gonna deal with the bread. So we'll have the salads ready to go, the bread will be done, and then I'm gonna bring the pasta together, and then you'll see how this all culminates. So remember, I put this bread in when we started the class. And it's been about 15-20 minutes, I'm thinking. 35 minutes actually. Wow, the time goes quickly. But you see, it looks really beautifully golden. It has a nice crust on it, and then we're gonna finish it over here real quickly. And this is the part I wanted to show you. So we have basically the bread, right? We put olive oil on it, and we let it do its thing. And now what I'm gonna do here is this is a garlic clove, and the bread is still nice and hot. And I'm gonna hold it. And now that you can hear that it's got a nice kind of a hard crust, right? I'm gonna take the clove and I'm scraping it because I want the clove to flavor this. Okay, so that's one clove, and I'll put another clove in here. And so basically I have a really beautiful garlic bread with fresh garlic flavor and then olive oil in it, and then we season it with salt.
Can we see the balsamic vinegar again?
Yeah, sure. You can go ahead and check that out. While she's doing the balsamic vinegar, I'm going to quickly go ahead and get the bread cut up.
What would the ratio be of balsamic vinegar to oil?
Yeah, so it's the flavor. So technically, when you're making the dressing, in general, the ratio of vinegar or acid is about 1/3 to 2/3 of fat that you're going to be using. So that's kind of the ratio that I would use. I would just very lightly drizzle the greens with the acid first, and then do a nice drizzle after with some of the oil. So what I like to do, by the way, I don't know if you noticed it, is hold on, let me stack these up. Is I'll cut the bread in half, and then I'll cut the half in half, and then the half in half, and then I'll cut. I just keep cutting halves because that's going to help me make sure that I have even cuts. Okay. So here's the bread.
About how long did you bake the bread for again?
The bread was in the oven for roughly, based on the time we started, I would say probably close to 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes. Okay, now what I'm taking some basil, doing a quick chiffonade. I'm also gonna throw some on top here because I think it looks nice. So that looks good. We have our salad, we have our French bread, and now we're gonna bring the pasta together. So I'm gonna come back to the stove here, and then we'll finish that up. Okay, so I have the pot that I started the pasta in, and I'm gonna use this pot because I'm gonna bring this all together in the pot. Now for starters, I'm gonna add that. Okay, so I want to show you something. So the question was about pasta sticking, right? And it's kind of sticking a little bit. So what I'm gonna do quickly is I'm gonna run it under the sink in the water really quickly. And what that will do is it will free up the pasta. You see how that just very quickly, now it's all free again. And I didn't use the oil, okay? So I'm doing just a quick drain on that. And I'm gonna add about half of the pasta right here.
Have you heard of putting a wooden spoon across the top of your boiling pasta pot to stop it from boiling over?
I have not. That is the first I'm hearing of it. Sounds like it works for you, so I gotta try that next time. It makes sense though because the spoon will catch the bubbles and break them down before it starts to overflow. That's a good idea. I gotta try that. So I turned the stove back on just to keep it warm, but I put half of the pasta and half of the sauce because it's easier to work with this way, okay? So I'm adding the sauce here, and so again, I like this pasta shape and I like the smaller shaped pastas because you can see product, you can see the sauce going into the tube, right? And that adds to the kind of the appeal of the dish. I'm gonna add a little bit more sauce. Stir it up. Then I'm gonna add a little bit more pasta. We're gonna add this in here now. And then I'm gonna add the rest of the sauce on top. Stir. See what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to be very gentle because I don't want to keep breaking up I don't want to break up and have a bunch of broken pasta noodles in the dish here. So I'm very gently stirring it. Okay, so now we have our pasta that's mixed in with this. And I said I didn't use all of the sauce because I wanted to see how it looks. And I do think it could use a little bit more tomato product. So I'm going to add that in.
I noticed you didn't use you're touching the handles.
I am touching the handles.
And are the handles hot?
They're super hot right now. They're like very, very, very hot. But I have very, very, very thick skin. I'm just kidding. The pot that I'm using, the handles they're cool. They're not hot. I mean, and I do have a side towel here, and I always have a side towel. In the event that I do grab something and it does feel too hot, I can always kind of get in there with it. But this is not really, it's manageable right now. So I'm going to stir it. Okay, so now the part that I'm going to do, and this, I've made a pasta like this many times and it's super delicious, but what I'm going to do is we're going to kick it up a little bit. And this is the part that really makes it yummy, is I'm going to add some mozzarella cheese. And, if you're doing hamburger helper, you make this and it's like a whole nother world. The cool thing about this is I'm going to add the cheese, and you can serve it like this, which we're going to do it, but you could also take this and throw this in the oven and bake it for, at 350 for about 30 minutes. And then it just makes it a whole nother dish because it melts together really nicely. But what I'm looking for here is the cheese is going to start to melt. And the goal is when you scoop some of it up, oh, you can see it already. You have this stringy kind of happy thing going on. Look at that. You see that? Look at that. That's what I'm looking for. So here, this is done already, okay? What I would do now is I would take this, put it in, either serve it from here and make individual portions, or take it and put it in a serving bowl. Now we're gonna go back to the other side. I'll plate some of this up so I can show you what it's gonna look like on a plate. But the cool part that I like about this is I'm gonna show you how it's garnished too, which is really, really kind of like the best part. So I have a nice bowl here, and we're gonna take some of this. Really, really happy. Look at that. Look at that. Can't wait to get in there. I know someone sent an email saying that they love the healthy dishes that we're doing. I thought, well, this was not quite in the same genre, but hey, every once in a while you deserve a treat, right? Okay, so we're gonna put a nice mound of this on here. And again, we're gonna do presentation, right? It's all about presentation. So I'm gonna put some of that there, and I am gonna grab the bowl here and do a quick wipe, because in the kitchen we do make mistakes and we clean them up. Okay, so I'm gonna put some of that there. And then I have ricotta cheese, which I think is really gonna put this over the top. And if you want to, you could take the ricotta and you could stir it in, or you can do what I'm gonna do is take a nice little mound of it, put it on the top there. Look at that. And then take some herbs. I'm gonna tear them up, sprinkle it on top. Someone was asking about chili flakes. I like chili flakes too. I'm gonna put a little bit on there. And then I'm gonna put some cracked pepper and a little bit of, let me get the cracked pepper for flavor. And for shine, a little bit more character, and then silkiness, I'm gonna put just a drizzle of olive oil in there. And so there we have it. This is a, an amazing dish. We've got our rigatoni with our pork ragu. We'll put a little bit of that French, or not French bread, our garlic bread. It's almost like a bruschetta here. We have that. And then, we could take some of the salad, put it on the side with our balsamic vinaigrette, or you could use lemon or olive oil or however you want to do it. But that's our dish. And as we're wrapping up, if there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer them, and I'll let you know what we're going to be doing next week. So, any last minute questions?
The cheese.
What cheese?
Mozzarella.
Yes.
You added that at the very end.
I did.
And does it need to be mozzarella?
Well,
or can it be Parmesan?
You could put Parmesan, and sometimes I put Parmesan and mozzarella, and Parmesan works great. The thing that I would do is, if you're going to put Parmesan, is I would grate the Parmesan, get a wedge and grate it in. I would not buy the pre-grated product, because the pre-grated product has anti-caking agents on it, so it doesn't clump when you have it in the container, and I don't think it melts as well. So I would shred or grate my own. You're not going to have the same stringy effect, but it's still going to be delicious.
And so you do that as the very last step.
I do. Toward the end, I grate it in and then I stir it in, because if I put it in too soon, it'll also start to want to like stick to the sides of the pan, and then you might end up with a kind of like a mess of the thing trying to stick while you're trying to stir it. It's scary.
Why did you drizzle olive oil on your dish? I drizzle
olive oil because I love olive oil. I think it adds a little more flavor. I use it as a finishing oil. It adds silkiness to the dish. And when I'm making a dish like this, I'm not really, this is about being decadent, right? And that's a decadent dish that we're making here. Any other questions? No?
What kind of wine would you pair this dish with?
Good question. Well, I think the thing is, the wine that I would pair with this first is the wine that I have in the house. And so whatever you got, whatever you drink, I think goes well with this. But here's one that I'm drinking right now that would be good, actually. So I have, this is a Côte du Rhône, and it's actually one of the wines that we're selling in our wine find set that's in all of our stores. We have an advanced sommelier that picks the wines, and he picks a great value. But the reason why I would pick this wine specifically is I'm trying to think of a wine that matches with Italian food, and I don't have something like a Chianti, which uses a Sangiovese grape. And a Sangiovese grape is a thin-skinned red grape that makes a really delicious old world wine. Italy's an old world, right? And so I picked a wine like this, which uses the Grenache grape primarily, and that is also a thin-skinned grape. And so I'm using a thin-skinned red grape from France, which is very close to Italy, and stylistically, I think matches. This Grenache is a little bit heavier than the Sangiovese, which is what used to make Chianti, but the dish here is kind of rich and heavy, so I think it would be a great pairing. Kind of ripe, fresh, and juicy, but definitely I think red wine, which is pasta, is really good.
Final question.
Yes.
Can you use pepperoni in your salad instead of salami?
If you got pepperoni, use it. If you've got some extra Kalo pig from the time that we did the Kalo pork hash cakes, I would use that too, because then you'd have a real good ragu. But, you know, and I love the questions, because really it's about finding things that are similar, but also be comfortable to adapt with what you have in your fridge, right? And so if you have salami, you don't have, if you have the, if you have pepperoni and not salami, go for it. You're still gonna have a wonderful dish.
Final question.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
We noticed that you didn't drain the fat from after you cooked the pork. Yeah. Is it okay to drain it, or why did you not drain it?
If you want to drain it, you can totally drain it. I did not drain the fat because, again, the dish that I'm making is a luxurious dish, right? And the fat rendered out, and it's not grease, right? It's not floating on the top. It's incorporating in the dish. It's adding flavor, and it's adding a lot of mouthfeel. And so, you know, in some of the things that I do, I do save all of my bacon fat too, and I use that to saute with, and I use it to flavor dishes with. So fat is not an enemy. Fat used appropriately, I think, works well. In this application here, I did keep the fat in here because I think it adds to the dish. It makes it more delicious, and it makes it feel nice on your palate. So that's our dish tonight. I'm glad that you all joined us. I hope you guys try this at home. I think you have a great experience. Please feel free to experiment. Do it without meat. Use different kinds of tomatoes. Use different herbs. I think you're gonna have a really great eating experience. And I just want to let you know that next week we have a fun dish that we've set up. You know, we're gonna kind of come back to the Pan Asian thing, but I wanted to show everyone how to do salmon with the skin on it and how to make it crispy but not overcook the salmon. So we're gonna do crispy crispy skinned salmon, and we're gonna do choy some with oyster sauce, which I think is super delicious. And we're gonna do like a really quick cucumber nama soup. So we're gonna try to do all those 3 dishes together. I think we'll have a great time. I think it'll be delicious. And again, don't forget to send me your pictures and send us more questions by email. And we'll see you next time.